Well, good morning, Steve Bannon. So great to hear your voice.
Joe, thanks for having me on, Joe.
Thanks a lot. Yeah, so a lot going on, and maybe you what I was hoping today is that we could kind of chat about, get your thoughts on what's going on with China and Hong Kong. I can maybe share my tidbits from here in Hong Kong. I'm live, as you know, in Hong Kong, and I wanted to discuss this post that I put up the other day too. So so there it is. So just to whatever we can cover
Well,
here.
listen, I think
Yeah.
one of the things I'm so excited about talking to you, and the reason that I think Gateway Pundit is so important is that the simple fact that you guys do as good or better coverage of anybody, right?
Thanks.
And I think part of the reason is I've known you for years. I think on the radio show years ago.
Yeah, yeah.
And on the pages of Breitbart, because I said this guy knows China, and he knows. I think that was like at 13 or 14 when we started talking about the islands in the South China Sea, and it turns out how Biden looks like he's the one that blinked when they started putting the islands up in the South China Sea, and all these aspects that have been going on at the beginning of One Belt One Road, Made in China 2025. This is just now becoming apparent to the American people, and this shows you again how the mainstream media in the United States doesn't cover the really important stories. This is the defining story of the first half of the 21st century, at least, maybe the entire century. And here people are like, people are like, oh wow, I didn't know that, Made in China 2025, right? Which has been going on for years. I didn't know about One Belt One Road. I didn't know about Huawei.
No.
Just across the board is just one thing after the other.
Yeah.
So it's incredible. But I think that's one of the reasons your reporting's been so. And look, as you know, being in Hong Kong itself, being at the tip of the spear, where I spent so much time, and then I actually lived for a while in Shanghai. There's not a lot of Americans that really spend much time in China.
Yeah, right.
And it's one that you've got insights, and I keep telling Jim that you've got insights that other people just don't have. And one of the reasons is that you actually know the neighborhood.
Yeah. Yeah, I was going to share something too as you were talking there. A couple of years ago when we talked on your radio shows, because I'd written that book, really about I came up with 10 ideas for the U.S. coming from Asia, and one of the first ones at that time, this is in the early Obama administration, was just it was about spending and social spend, and the comment I made was that China at that time is the socialist country, and yet it's spending way less than the U.S. on social programs. Per capita, it was just pennies, And I also what hit me too was I'd come across a dissertation actually by some Chinese woman in the U.K., and she noted how after Xi Jinping took over, how he realized that China could not keep going the way it was, and that they had to, basically start giving people property rights. And he made this statement, which was real foreign in the communist regime talk, and it was, we realize some people are going to get rich faster than others. And which he, that's kind of amazing today how the socialists in America talk about this income inequality. But that was one thing Xi Jinping realized, and and that was the change. And over the next 30 years, China had freed like 500 million people from abstract poverty
You mean what Deng Xiaoping understood 30 years ago.
And he started that. And so at the time, back in Obama's administration, they were moving more towards really capitalism, while Obama was taking the U.S. more towards socialism. So that was one of my observations. But now,
I think I would call it state. I would say I think they have a thing of state-controlled capitalism. Is what China's got.
Yeah.
Right. They say they're communists, but people don't have any personal individual property rights. The reason the CCP and the elite, it's really 12 to 15 families, really own everything. Right? They have control of the apparatus. That's why it's so difficult. Trump's deal is so brilliant. If you look at what Peter Navarro calls the 7 deadly sins of China, or those 7 verticals that are really the heart of the Trump deal that the Chinese walked away from. one of the central ones is subsidies to state-owned industries. And that is what is exported deflation and overcapacity throughout the entire world. It's one of the reasons it's so tough to get wages up. It's one of the reasons that the CCP's model is so crushed workers throughout the world, whether in Western Europe or the United States. It's part of the deindustrialization in the United States was by these state-owned industries. But the state-owned industries is where they get the skill. The CCP controls the state-owned industries, and where the leadership of the Chinese Communist Party gets the skill. They keep funneling tons of cash in these things and then take it off the top. So it's, they're really a form of state-controlled capitalism.
Well, isn't that something?
Totalitarianism, state capitalism. And
that's interesting.
By the way, with slave labor, there's really no safety net. There's no social safety net. That's why the savings rate, the reason they can't really build a domestic economy, they can't get domestic demand up. One of the reasons people save. The families are very traditional. They save. The reason they save, there's no social safety net. You're literally on your own. And so it is, so the West has become addicted. The capitalists in the West and the corporations in the West who have created this Frankenstein monster has been created by Wall Street, the City of London, and the global corporations. They provided them the technology and they gave them the capital. And so this is our monster we created, right? And this monster now is turned on its masters, and it feeds off of slave labor. And so we exported the jobs, we exported our industries, and now we take in the fentanyl, we take in the opioids because of the depression, the anxiety, the angst, the lack of self-worth of the workers in the Midwest and these factory cities.
So true. Well, I can tell you,
we're in a reverse opium war. Reverse opium war, which is the Chinese Communist Party. This is all Xi's China dream. The China dream is predicated upon ending the 200 years of humiliation that was started, guess where, in Hong Kong with the first Port Treaty in 1848, and he's bound to determine. The irony is, it's where Hong Kong, I think, the CCP is going to actually break its pick, and they'll see the beginning of the destruction of the Chinese Communist Party because of their handling of the freedom-loving young people in Hong Kong. But no, this monster. This Frankenstein has been created by the West, and it's not. The West, the Chinese people are going to free themselves, and it has to be from them. The West can participate, help. The way it can help is to stop financing it, stop giving it technology, stop. Remember, the firewall is built on Western technology by Western companies. So it's time to stop all that. That's one of the reasons the Hoft here in the United States are every day taking material like your great article the other day, which is still the most insightful article. Why they're actually even at the table about the market crash, right? And hopefully our leaders, continue to drive home and cut a tough deal.
Well, I tell you what, I loved your video that I put in that post. I saw it. I was down in Australia. Maybe a couple comments, first of all. So when I was at a business meeting last week with a bunch of top executives, right? And we're having this discussion, and I'm the only guy there that likes Trump, and they all know it, But I'm not afraid to speak up, and I think they get a kick out of that too, for a matter of fact. But so we were talking about China, and I was saying I just don't know. They've overbuilt. They have overbuilt here. And I noted some other things, the off-balance sheet liabilities and things like that we don't even know how big they are. And one of the guys said, well, with those buildings that they've overbuilt, they can just put people in them. And, at first that makes sense, but here's the deal. The dilemma, the thing that hit me is that, well, yeah, you can put people in those buildings, but they've got to have something to do. And if they don't have something to do, then it's going to be just like our inner cities where we've given these people places to live, etc., and they don't have something to do, and those neighborhoods go to, they go to hell, they go to drugs, they go to crime real quick. So China's got a problem there with those buildings. They can't just throw people in them and not have jobs there for those people to, to benefit from. So, and that was an observation I made the other day. But your video about really where we're at right now, and you said something in it that was just, to me, profound. It's like you said something like, right now we could take this whole thing down, and you were speaking about the regime. You said it's basically built on a house of sand. So you want to extrapolate on that some?